Hello, dear students. Today, once again, we are together to continue with our online lectures in classical poetry. And as you know, that the second poet that we are going to talk about is Shakespeare, William Shakespeare. And his sonnet today that we shall be discussing is titled as Shall I Compare Thee to a Summer's Day? Now, this is the first line of the sonnet, and sonnets do not have separate titles, so that is why Shakespeare takes the first line as the title of his sonnet. And I think some of the things should be in the minds of my students before we go further, that a sonnet comprises 14 lines. 12 lines in one tone. In the last two lines, the poet suggests a solution or the kind of problem solving occurs in the last two lines. So in that way, sonnets are really very different. And also, I must say that the students should also keep in mind that we are reading Shakespeare, who is famous as a dramatist. He's not known like Chaucer, Milton, or Pope. He is known as dramatist, but still, he's been writing some of the poetic lines as well, especially his sonnets are very famous. But his style is almost the same everywhere. Either he is a dramatist or a sonneteer. For example, if we start with the poem, the very first line of the poem is, Shall I compare thee to a summer's day? Now here, the word is used for you. I mean, thee is you in the Old English, as Shakespeare was writing at that time. He is addressing someone and asking that he should compare her with a summer's day. As you read in Chaucer, that the April month is very cruel, very crucial in all ways, and that is why the hotness comes there, shineness comes there. In the same way, Shakespeare also uses the metaphor of summer, the summer season in England, and says that he should compare his beloved with the summer day. This is a question here, not the statement. It is just asking, should he do this or he should not? The answer comes in the next coming line. For example, he says that rough winds do shake the darling buds of May. What is happening in the summer season? That the wind has become up to some extent rough, and it is shaking because of the roughness or the force of the wind. It's shaking the buds of May. As the month of May is the month where flowers begin to blossom, and these flowers look very beautiful when they are in the budding situation. The poet says that I want to compare you with summer, because summer is a season where the wind is fast enough, powerful enough, and that is creating a stir in the buds, and the buds have been told by the poet to be darling, very lovely, very beautiful one, and the month of May. And the second reason he mentions in the next line when he writes, the poet writes, and summer's lease hath all too short a date. That summer season in England comes for a very short time. It's not very long one. It may be starting in May or June and ending in August. So in that way, it has a very short span. He says, sometime too hard the eye of heaven shines, but one of the qualities of the summer season is that sometime it becomes very hot. He says, heaven, eye of the heaven shines. No, eye of the heaven is the sun here. He says that sun may be shining very brightly, and because of the brightness of the sun, summer season becomes a little too hot. And next line, and often is his gold complexion dimmed. But there is another thing as well, that if the sun is not shining in that way, then the golden light of the sun would be dimmed. It will not be that shining. And every fair from fair sometime declines. So whatever the beauty, whatever the shine may be, that would decline. And from here, the poet takes a clue that beauty is also like the beauty of the sun, shine of the sun. So as the light of the sun in the summer season declines sometime, remains sharp sometime it declines, and in the same way, the beauty of a girl, the beauty of nature may also be declining or decreasing sometime. So now you are understanding what the sonneteer is trying to say, that it's okay, right, that sun is beautiful. In the same way, your beauty, he's addressing to his beloved, is beautiful, but in the same way as the sunlight would decline, shine would decline, it would be dimmed. In the same way, the beauty of the woman, beauty of the girl could also be dimmed. And in the next line, he comes up with another idea by saying, by chance or nature's changing course untrimmed. He says that these things can happen in chance. For example, if the clouds come before the sun in the sky, light would be definitely dimmed, or some other things can happen. In the same way, he says there are many things which can decrease the beauty, and as a result, there is something which happens to the beauty of the girl also, of the beloved also. He says then in the ending lines, but the eternal summer shall not fade. According to him, the beloved's beauty is eternal. It is not going to become dim. It is not going to become faded, or it is not even going to become reduced, nor lose possession of that fair thou owest. He says, the beauty which you possess, he is addressing his beloved again and again, the beauty which you possess will never go down, will never decrease at all. Now, how is it possible that even the sunlight can dim after the summer season? How the beauty of the beloved will remain the same? The answer comes in the next lines. He says, nor shall death brag thou when rest in his shade, when in internal lines to time thou growest. He says, even when you die, your beauty will be there. Now, this is the strangest concept the poet is giving, how the beauty would be existing after death. But he will tell us how the beauty exists after death. He says, when after death, the beloved would go into the eternal lines of time, and there also the beauty would increase, it will not decrease at all. For example, why? He says, so long as men can breathe or eyes can see, this is the answer. He says, till the time human beings are alive and they can see your beauty, they can be showing that they are alive, at that time, the beauty would exist. It means that the whole of the world will survive definitely. It's not going to die at all. He says, till that time, the human beings are alive in this world, the beauty will be existing. Last line of the poem says, so long lives this, and this gives life to thee. Now, what is this? He says, so long lives this. This is the poem. This thing is the poem which we have just read. He says, till the time this poem is read, till the time this poem is present in this world, there will be the chance of your survival in this world. So it means that in whole of the poem, what we are trying to gather from the pen of Shakespeare, when we read, shall I compare thee to a summer's day? He says that everything is good during the summer day. Everything goes on bright, shining, and the beauty in the form of the buds of May. Beauty is also present everywhere. But this beauty can decline at any moment. The light of the sun can be dimmed at any moment. He says in the same way, any beauty of the nature can be dimmed. But he addresses to his beloved by saying, it's not possible in your case. Your beauty will remain the same all the time. It will not decline at all. Why so? Because he says that I have written a poem for you. I have written a sonnet for you on your beauty. And I have created something beautiful about your beauty, which will never ever end at all. Because art is permanent, human life is not permanent. Here in these lines, therefore, the poet is trying to prove that creation has more value as compared to the created. The poet has created a poem, the poet has created an art. Dear students, you can also understand in a different way that, for example, when somebody paints a picture of a woman, the woman may become old, she may lose her beauty because of illness, because of anything like time, and she may die also, death can claim her. But in case of this case which Shakespeare is saying, the beauty would never die. In case of the painting will remain all the time fresh, it will be there all the time present, it will be showing the beauty. Same is the case with the poem. If my students can remind themselves from the modern poetry, that is a poem by Keats, that is Ode to Grecian Urn, there also he says that the art is more permanent as compared to other things. In the same way, we have many other poets who says that if they have spoken about somebody, these words will become permanent, they will be everlasting. So art and creation are more permanent, the same thing the poet has suggested. As far as the structure of the poem is concerned, look at the students, look at your poem, you will find 14 total lines are there, and out of these 14, 12 lines have been divided into 4 parts, 3 lines in 1 part. In all these lines, something is highlighted. For example, sun is there, brightness is there, it is going down, it is dimmed, and after that, it's compared with the declining of the beauty of the woman as well. But in the ending line, he says that it's not possible that your beauty may die at all, it will never finish. So this is what the poet wants to say in his poem. 3 parts different, second or last part, which is comprising two lines only, that is again difference. So in that way, the image of nature have been present, permanence of nature, temporary of human life, but the creativity and the humanism has been suggested in this poem with a very stressful point. So this is the view of Shakespeare. It is new Platonic. Plato, I think everybody knows who was Plato. Plato gave a concept of love for the sake of love. He says that love is permanent. Shakespeare is presenting new Platonic concept of love in this sonnet, and according to him, beauty would never fade, would never die if it is created in the form of art. So that's it from my side about this today's lecture. Hope you have understand well. We shall be reading in our next lecture the second sonnet of Shakespeare. Okay, thank you.